So today we have with us Mr. Rohit Gera, and I can definitely say he's not just one of the leading developer, he's the finest leading developers of India. And Pune market is one such market in India, which is synonym to the word Gera Group. Gera Group entered the world of real estate in the year of 1970 and is the first company which introduced child-centric projects and 7-year construction warranty in India. So welcome you, sir, today on Reality NXT.
Thank you. Thank you, Kritika. Great to be here.
So, how would you summarize your 2020? How did the last quarter of 2020 look like for you? Did you see any kind of upward trend for the overall industry or for the Gera Group towards the last quarter of the year?
So I think at an industry level, I think 2020 has been a very interesting kind of year, and for us, it's actually been a good year in many ways, right? The last quarter at the industry level has been very good. I think the sales across the board, we've seen a pickup of sales. Certainly, the government of Maharashtra, I think, came up with a phenomenal idea of a staggered sort of benefit as far as stamp duty is concerned for customers.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been a better time to buy in over 20 years. So I think this is a really good time to buy. Consumers are finally realizing that, and it's been a great year. It's been the last quarter has been fabulous for the real estate developers in general. For
Mhm.
us, I think that we've had a slightly different sort of a problem. Um, where we have no inventory to sell, right? And while we wait for the environment department of the government of Maharashtra to open up, we're still waiting to get approvals on 3 projects. So I think that's a sort of a different kind of a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the overall situation.
So going forward in 2021, when the government is so active, they have shown interest to bail out the real estate industry and premium cut waiver. How do you think it will pan out?
So I think the biggest benefit. So I'm not so sure about this premium cut benefit and some of the calculations that we've done.
Yeah.
It's only on the premiums that you have to pay, right? And there's a lot of other costs, right? Development charges and labor cess and a lot of the other stuff, which doesn't get a benefit. So in fact, I think net we will see that most developers, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
certainly in many areas, will not opt for this benefit. Having said that,
Mm-hmm.
the stamp duty benefit is certainly positive, extremely positive. Uh, I think consumers are finally realizing that this is really the time to buy. There's
Yeah.
been many people sitting on the fence for a long time. Look, affordability is at like 15-year highs, right? Interest rates are at 15-20-year lows. So when you factor that in, for the last 5 years, real estate prices really haven't moved up. In fact, they've been drifting downward. So real estate prices are at a low, right? Affordability is at a high. Interest rates are low. So anybody thinking of buying a home, I think, and with the government kind of acting as the accelerator, as the catalyst, if you will, I think this certainly bodes well for the entire industry and the entire sector.
So, do you think this will benefit the developers from the move, considering there has been a write-off stamp duty, as you mentioned, that has to be accommodated on the developers' end. So, what's your viewpoint on the same?
In which case,
So in the same, like how we are saying the government is getting involved in the real estate industry and they're making sure that there be small interest coming in or the stamp duty be lower wise or this cut waiver coming into the picture. So what do you think, it will actually benefit the developer or it completely won't, because as we said that we have to consider the stamp duty from the developers end also.
I think the stamp duty benefit which is being offered to the end consumer is certainly in the interest of the consumer. The developer doesn't even come into the picture, right?
Yeah.
In the other situation where they've said you pay part premium to the government, 50% waiver of premium,
Hmm.
on the condition that the developer bears the 100% of the stamp duty.
Yeah.
Net, like, the calculation of the projects that we have done, this is an additional burden on the developer, right? So I think, like I said, there'll be fewer developers that might actually opt for that scheme. But I think even despite that scheme, I think we'll start seeing we've started seeing the green shoots as far as the buying is concerned. And in fact, from our report, we've even seen a slight uptick in the prices already.
Okay. So, coming to my next question. Last year, we noticed Gera Development purchased 12 acre of land in Pune from Daiichi for the development of the commercial project. So, please tell us about the progress on the same.
Right now, we are that and a couple of other projects are waiting for the committee for the environment committee to meet. Our projects are pretty much ready to roll, right?
Yeah.
Beyond that, because of RERA, I'm not permitted to actually talk about the project purely because we're not supposed to. Anything can be considered marketing of a project, and therefore we completely follow the law in letter and spirit, and therefore I unfortunately I can't talk about the project except that we are super excited with some of the stuff that we managed to work out in that development.
Okay.
So that we'll just have to wait. We'll just have to wait for us to get the approvals and then bring it to market.
Great. So we'll look forward for more news on that front.
Sure.
So coming to next, so now that we have seen the worst behind us and going forward, we have understood technology is going to play an important role. In general trends, what do you think the whole real estate scenario will look like, or what are the changes that we can expect?
Oh, so if one looks, sort of at the medium to long term, right, as a starting, I think we've already started seeing a lot of the large corporate houses already get involved and enter the real estate sector in a much bigger way than they ever did before. So I think we will see a lot of large players, and now when you then say large players, you'll see them in two categories. You'll see the multi-product brands.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, there is Godrej, for example, which works, has multiple products, right?
Right.
And then you will see those of us who are pure play real estate developers, where we have only one business line and everything rests on it. And so we'll see that at the larger end, two of those kind of businesses, which are going to be the professionally managed, professionally run businesses.
Right.
I think then you'll see also a lot of more professionalism happening even amongst the smaller family-owned, family-managed businesses. I think just because of the sort of compliance requirement, because of RERA compliance requirement, because of companies law, and also the kind of things that developers could do with institutional funding, right? Look, keep in mind that the RBI does not allow banks to fund real estate developers for buying land. Right?
Yeah.
And therefore, every financial institution looked the other way when developers took that money and then used it to buy land.
Right.
Okay. As a result of of a lot of developers having issues, a lot of the financial institutions in the aftermath of the IL&FS crisis, a lot of the issues are coming up about diversion of funds. These are suddenly becoming like huge crimes, right?
Yeah.
It was wrong to do, but suddenly, it's like a criminal offense, which it's being positioned as. As a result, I think even the smaller developers, the larger ones, of course, will continue to be much more compliant. But I think even the smaller developers, even the financial institutions, are going to look at end use much more closely.
Right.
And as a result, I think the industry and the sector is going to professionalize much more.
Yeah.
As a result, I think there are those people who thrive on functioning in the gray area, functioning on moving money around without it being professional, not managing compliance as well,
Right.
not caring too much about the consumer.
Yeah.
I think all these factors which are currently at play will eliminate that segment of real estate developers. I would rather call them fly-by-night operators. So I think we will see an elimination of the fly-by-night operators, and I think we'll see a greater professionalism in the industry. And I think we'll see a lot of larger players and a lot more scale happening with a lot of the developers now going forward.
Great. This is something really interesting you brought in, because my other question is related to something when it comes to branded developers. So I came across some few reports which says that out of all the inventory moved in Bangalore last year, 65% belong to branded developers. So do you think that focusing on creation of the brand will play an important role will people choose to pay a premium because they are associating with the brand name, as they can expect a lot of from the brand, of course, instead of trying to put their save a little money and put it in a smaller brand where they may not be certain about the delivery of the project or the quality of the project. So what a brand needs to do in such case, apart from of course the delivery time and the quality, what are the other steps that brand like Gera is also taking to make sure that they are the number one choice in the catchment areas where your projects are coming in, or in the cities that you're present in?
Okay, wow, that's a really long sort of multitude, multifaceted question.
Just on the,
Let me
yeah,
answer it in the parts, and as the thoughts come up, right?
sure.
So you're right. I think consumers are certainly more willing to pay for safety, right?
Yeah.
They want peace of mind, they want safety, and therefore the brands offer that, right?
Hmm.
So really, what is a brand but an expectation of what a company is going to deliver,
Right.
right? That's really what your brand is, right? Your brand may be horrible, right? That people say, you know what, these guys cheat, they don't deliver, and that's what your brand stands for,
Right.
right? So when people realize that your brand stands for delivery,
Hmm.
for trust, right, for customer centricity, for making things easier for the consumer, for putting the customer first, right?
Yeah.
Then people kind of gravitate towards that, right? As and the other part which you talked about is about Gera, right? As far as we're concerned, we're doing all these things. In addition, we've also created a brand in terms of our product line, because we've got a differentiated product, right, in child-centric homes.
Right.
Now, people who have kids and who want to give their kids this best in class opportunities,
Hmm.
find that, wow, here's a developer that's offering us these kind of opportunities for our families and for our children, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's the expectation of our promise. That's what the customer expects, that this promise that we make. And because
Right.
we have a believability, we have a trust factor of doing things the right way over the years, people tend to believe when we say that, yes, child centric, we will give you all these things over these years, right? People tend to believe that. And I'm very proud to say that we continue to deliver. We're on our next wave of child centric homes, and we continue to upgrade the product offering. And in the previous projects which we've completed, we continue to deliver
Right.
on those promises. So I think as long as you continue to deliver on the promise,
Mhm.
that's what builds a brand. It's a word of mouth. It's when people talk positively about the project, about their investment. That's when you start building a brand.
Completely. It's all about our experience and even how the brand is reaching out, making sure the deliverables are there as they promised.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you think about those unsold inventories where people are saying, even the customers, a lot of customers has put this comment across in our blog also, saying that developers should reduce the prices when it comes to unsold inventory, so that because of this tough times they can purchase those houses. So, what's your take on this when it comes to unsold inventory and their pricing?
Look, I think let's understand one thing, right?
Yeah.
Developers are in a business, okay? And the objective of a business is to make profit,
Agree.
right? Now, if I have unsold inventory and I believe that the prices will rise and somebody will buy this tomorrow, it's my choice to hold on to it, right? If there's a bank knocking on my door saying, listen, we're going to take over this inventory, or we'll take over your office or your house, then I'm in a distressed situation and I will be forced to cut the price and sell. Okay. So let's think about why developers are stuck with unsold inventory. I think the single largest reason is a mistake in terms of the product. So if you've created the wrong product in the wrong market,
Mhm.
okay, you're stuck,
Yeah.
right? And I think if developers realize that this is a wrong product in the wrong market, it's not even necessarily going to sell tomorrow, then certainly they should cut prices and sell.
And I
But
think this we are noticing mostly when it comes to luxury housing, because that has impacted a lot. Don't you
yes,
agree?
yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
so look, we have a luxury project which has seen very slow sales, and the product is ready over the last 2 years. And we took the call of saying we're not going to slash prices, okay? Because we believe intrinsically in the value of the asset,
Right.
okay? We also believe that real estate, works in cycles, And we will be on an upcycle again, and it's been 2 years we had barely any sales, and we've sold a large number of units in the last quarter, right? So we do see the market coming back.
Okay.
Now, we were not in a situation where we were in a financial stress that we were forced to liquidate that inventory. So back to the first point that I made, it was our choice to say, okay, we'll hold on to the inventory, and when the price is right, we'll sell it,
Right.
right? Whereas on the other hand, in certain other projects, even though we expect that, yes, prices may rise, our internal strategy with my sales team is that, no, listen, let's make sure that we have cash flow for this project. So the policy and what we follow is, in the early stage of the project, we will always sell aggressively. We will sell at attractive prices,
Yeah.
so that we get into a stage where we've broken even on construction cost, broken even on land cost, right? Then
Yeah.
broken even on overheads, and then the profit can rise,
Of
right?
course.
So I think every developer has his own sort of philosophy. But this is what we basically do. So there's a time in the project when you need to just sell, sell, sell.
Yeah.
And there's a time in a project when you can afford to hold, or you may be able to afford to hold, right? So it's different developers, different situations. And we see both situations across various projects. I think there's no formula. There's no right and wrong formula.
Of course.
It
Yeah.
depends on the case-to-case basis. Now, imagine if there's a lot of inventory in certain cases, not a lot necessarily, but there are some projects which are stuck midway through. I don't advise anybody to buy at whatever the discount in a stuck project, right? Because if a project is stuck, it's because it has no cash flow. There's no guarantee that your money is going to go into pouring concrete in the project.
Right.
That money may go to pay interest to a bank, or to pay a bank loan, or it may go to pay some other liabilities, or some past dues of the contractor. But there's no it's no point. Whatever the discount you're going to get
Yeah.
in a project which is stuck under construction, you are best advised not to buy in that project.
So what's it take for the ready to move in luxury housing? Those unsold inventories.
So I think, look, from a timing point of view, I believe this is the right time to buy. A lot of people in the luxury. So here's the thing with luxury, right? For the most part, I think people who are buying luxury homes are already currently living in a home of their own.
Yeah.
Very, very few people turn around and say, okay, I've been in a rental property and I'm going to buy something for 8 crores, 10 crores, 15 crores, depending on which market, or in a Pune market, even 3 and 4 and 5 crores.
Yeah.
Right? So they're already living in a home. And these are more sort of, they've progressed. If they can afford to buy a second home, they can afford to buy a larger home. They're a little savvier in that sense. So, so they have other investments. They're seeing other investments do well. There's a lot of talk around the fact that the luxury segment has been doing badly, right?
Yeah.
Why would you buy something? Anybody who didn't buy in the last 5 years has been rewarded, right? Because wherever else they invested, those investments went up and the real estate investments didn't really go up. So if you didn't buy in the last 5 years, you've been rewarded. The question is, today, are we at a time when, that reward ratio now is changing, because we are seeing consumers come back. I believe that prices will start rising. So my own belief is that we'll very soon see even those luxury homes start getting traction and start moving off the shelves very quickly. I'll just tell you one interesting fact. In the ready to move in inventory in Pune, in the last 10 years that we've been putting out our research, okay, the percentage of inventory available has not been more than 3% of the total inventory under construction, under development. So, at 3 lakh homes, there's never been more than 8 or 9,000 homes which are ready, available to sell. It's a very small amount. So in that sense, there's no specific crisis as such. Right? Somebody may be stuck in one project, but if you're diversified, you're okay. If if you've got only that one project and it's in that segment, then you're stuck much more. But there isn't an industry-wide overall crisis anymore.
Agreed. So is it too early to say, like how a lot of real estate developers have also, few of them have quoted that this year, 2021, would be for affordable housing in comparison to how the luxury housing market is going on? So what's your view on that for affordable housing?
So I think, look, affordable housing has been receiving a push from the government for a long time anyway.
Yeah.
Right? If we look at interest rates being at all-time lows, right? Um, over the last so many years, right? Every time we start thinking, okay, things are going to turn, the industry gets one more punch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I won't list through them, but we've had 5 sort of massive punches to the industry, right? So
Mhm.
things are looking good, right? But
Yeah.
after being punched so hard in the gut 5 times, when you get so winded, right? I'm just holding back and saying, what can come next? But if nothing comes next,
Yeah.
I think we will see a turnaround as far as the real estate sector is concerned in this year.
Agreed. Completely. So now the budget is around the corner. So I'm sure you have noticed what kind of, as you mentioned, the punches have been there. What do you expect the government should focus when it comes to real estate industry in this particular budget?
So one thing which I've also learned from this government in the last 5-7 years that they've been producing their budget is
Yeah.
to not expect anything, right?
Yeah.
Because I think their policies are very clear. Is that they want to go away from sector specific SOPs,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And basically align people to a lower tax regime with less sector specific SOPs. Okay, so that's my expectation, right?
Right.
What I would hope though, right? Because we're all optimists, right? And I mean, ultimately, you're an entrepreneur, you're an optimist.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
so I think the reality is we won't get anything. But hey, if you ask me to hope, and if I were to just be an optimist, I
Hmm.
think if they came up with some sort of accelerated, in a similar way that the government of Maharashtra did this 2-step stamp duty benefit, right? More if you do it now, less if you do it later, right?
Yeah.
If they come up with, let's say, more interest deduction if you buy in this year, less interest deduction on your home purchase if you buy it next year, over a 3-year staggered sort of reducing step benefit
Right.
to the end consumer, I think we'll jumpstart things substantially, right? Because ultimately, I think at the end of the day, we all realize that real estate is one of the engines of the economy,
Yeah.
right? Owning of real estate is a huge source of um, self-reliance and satisfaction and feeling of self-worth for every Indian, for everybody, in fact, right? If you own your own home,
Yeah.
right? It's such a safety net. So given that, my sense is if the government accelerates and promotes people to buy homes in this manner, I
Mhm.
think it would be great. But whether it indeed happens, we'll see. I think also it's important to recognize that it's been a bad year for the government from their income and revenue point of view,
Of
right?
course.
They're struggling with under with the deficits, and I think there's also a tremendous need this year now to also focus on health for the Indian citizens.
Agreed. Completely. Yeah.
So yes, from a real estate perspective, yes, this would be good. But and I think that if they use real estate as a catalyst to jumpstart, to generate more income and revenue, to then generate more money for the coffers of the government, it's great. But otherwise, I think this is the year to really focus on really building the healthcare systems in our country. This pandemic has been a huge wake up call where we really really got lucky.
Definitely. Yeah.
So my anticipation is that we'll see a greater focus on healthcare this year
Hmm.
than we've seen in previous years. And I would think that that's really the way to go.
Of course. So
Speaking
yeah.
speaking primarily as an Indian first and a real estate developer second.
Of course. So, with regards to overall Pune trends, we have seen a report that Gera has come out with. Could you just summarize it for us? What are the Pune trends looking like going forward? What kind of the possibilities you can see on the demand and the supply side?
So, notably what we've seen is the number of the available inventory has come down,
Yeah.
right? We're at literally at 8-year lows in terms of percentage of unsold inventory. Gross inventory has come down, unsold inventory has come down. We've seen prices starting to rise. We've also seen developers starting to increase the sizes of their homes,
Yeah.
right? And all this on the backdrop of an increased affordability,
Right.
right? And when I say affordability, look, even if last year people didn't get major increments in their salaries, or many companies didn't give increments. If you look at a 5-year trend, and if you say, okay, on an average, people got 6, 7, 8% increases, right?
Right.
And over the last 5 years, real estate rates have actually gone down
Mhm.
2%, 3%, 2%, 3% year on year,
Yeah,
right? That gap in affordability has gone up substantially,
of
right?
course.
And
Mhm.
then you take interest rates going down from 9, 9.5 down to under 7 or 7, let's say,
Yeah, so
right? So your EMI amount, your salary today gets you much more square feet than
yeah,
it did in the past.
completely. Yeah.
Right? Now, when you look at this with the data which says that, look, less projects have been launched, there
Mhm.
is less unsold inventory today. Our
Mhm.
inventory overhang is now at 10 months, right? These are very, very robust numbers.
Yeah.
It can turn very quickly to prices suddenly rising. And if you're suddenly looking around, you might find that, oh my God, the prices have moved up, and you're suddenly looking for lesser square feet. So I think consumers who are, our view is, I think people are really smart. They have their ear to the ground. They
Yeah.
understand what's going on. And we're already starting to see that in terms of what people are buying on, in terms of not just our projects and other projects as well.
Yeah. So last year, I had a lot of discussions with the developers when the pandemic hit us. So everyone was discussing how 2.5 will be the next demand, or 3.5 BHK would be the next demand. Do you think this will continue even in 2021? This customer sentiment, I'm sure you are aware of how the market is going ahead for when it comes to affordability, when it comes to more square feet. But do you think this is going to stay for longer, for this year at least? Are we going to go ahead with those inventories where we predicted 2.5 BHK is the demand, or 3.5 BHK is the demand?
Demand is let's separate out desire, need, and demand,
Yeah,
right? I may desire something much larger, right? So my desire is huge, right?
right.
My need then comes out of my desire, right? But what translates into demand,
Hmm.
right? What translates into demand is based on my affordability.
Yeah,
What translates into demand is based on my affordability, right?
right.
And we've seen, in about in 95% of the cases, right? We have seen that people will buy to the max of their capacity, right? So what people do is they'll say, okay, I want to buy under construction, right? Let's say my salary is combined family salaries, let's say 1 lakh a month. Okay.
Mm.
The bank allows me an EMI of 50,000 at 700 rupees per lakh. That gets me a loan of 70 lakhs. I
Yeah,
put in 10 lakhs of my own. My home affordability is 80 lakhs,
right.
right? Now, what's the best that I can get in 80 lakhs? So to turn around and say, oh, I want a 2.5 bedroom or a 3 bedroom, very nice, but can I get that in the 80 lakhs? Right?
Yeah.
Now the trade-off comes up to say, okay, do I buy from a branded developer, and do I buy 2 bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I buy a child-centric home from Gera and buy 2 bedroom? Or do I go to somebody who's less known, unknown, right?
Yeah,
My delivery is promised 3 years from now, but I might get a 2.5 bedroom, right? Now
right.
that's certainly a trade-off. But I
Of
think
course. Yeah.
it's a function of affordability and people's
Mm-hmm.
need, and people will always maximize what they will buy at the for the most part when they're buying and pulling the trigger on buying the home. So
Right.
I think one of the things that we have seen is, we have a project called Gera Zadara, right, which we've actually got the occupancy certificate today, right?
Oh, yeah.
This project had 2-level duplex apartments. The living room had a double height, and in some of them, we actually designed it 3 years ago when we launched the project at the upper level with a small little study area,
Hmm.
right? Pre-pandemic, we had some of that inventory available.
Yeah.
Pandemic hit. As soon as sales started, those units got sold out, right?
Agree. Yeah.
So I think that there will be a need for
Hmm.
some people who will want a study, who will want a little space for a desk to work from home.
Yeah.
Um, but if every developer starts doing it, we'll have an oversupply there,
Of course. Yeah.
because the consumer isn't going to want it.
No, but then again, that will, I think as we were discussing earlier, the branded developers will be at par on that. Even if everyone starts doing that, what we have noticed with the customer sentiment and the news coming in about so many developers, I think now the customer want to put their money, even if it's about 30 lakhs, more with the branded developers, because the trust comes in and you know for sure those delivery, those delivery, those quality will be given to them without any them chasing or following up or delays. So I
Can
think,
I
yeah, so that,
can I just I'm sorry to interrupt on that, but can I please just say it's about time,
yeah,
right? People like us have been doing this and delivering um, in this manner for decades now, right?
yeah,
And there are times when you'd feel so bad that a customer would come to you and say, "There's this fly-by-night guy right next door.
yeah,
His rates are, his rates are 6,000. You're selling at 7,000. Why should I buy with you?" Right?
yeah,
He came yesterday. You haven't studied his plans. He's got, illegal stuff going on in there. Now we don't badmouth the competition,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
it feels so good. It feels so good that finally consumers are discerning. They're
yeah,
finally seeing the value of what the reputation and the value of reputation to us, and
right,
they're finally seeing that the reputation therefore translates into something much better for them, and they're willing to finally pay for it.
of course.
It's about time. It feels so good that we finally reached this stage.
No, that's as you said, it should be the time, and it is happening because so many news you must be knowing. I don't want to quote those developers have coming in, even because once the pandemic hit, you get to know more of the reality coming in. So now people are understanding it's not about 30 or 40 lakhs. It's up because that's your house forever, right?
Yes.
You have to be with that project or builder, making sure every facility is provided without you chasing the RERA office for it.
I think consumers are also realizing that it's beyond just that, right? So for example, now if you talk to anybody, right, and you say, okay, we're talking about Gera, they know that they're not going to need to go to Rera,
Of
right?
course, yeah,
So now it's also about the next level in terms of their wider, greater experience. Now, for example, we've gone from a 5-year warranty to a 7-year warranty,
yeah,
right? We started 15 years ago. It took when RERA made it mandatory for the country. That's when other developers started offering it.
yeah,
By that time, our warranty was already being delivered on our Gera World mobile app, right?
yeah.
So as a result of that, these are handmade products, right? Workers work on us on out in the open and they build these homes.
Hmm.
Now, can there be problems? Of course, there can be problems. But
Yeah.
what we realized is because of creating an app, we reduced our inspections, right?
Hmm.
So today we have 99% of complaints coming in on the app, okay?
Yeah.
And 70% cases, because the customers upload the photograph of the problem,
Yeah.
okay, we don't need to send one person to go and inspect and then later on send somebody to go and fix the problem. So we don't inconvenience the customer with 2 visits.
Right.
One visit, because you've seen the picture, you diagnose the problem. One visit, you send the guy with the right things, he fixes the problem, right? Now, this is about a greater consumer experience. When you do child centric and you deliver it on the mobile app in terms of, you book your classes, you can do all of that stuff on an app. It's about now the consumer experience at a whole different level, right? And so I think, brands and people like us are now pushing where, giving what was promised is now hygiene.
No, I completely agree because bigger brands like you who are even involved not just by selling but even later on the maintenance side when it's when the people have moved in and if there are small problems also you're able to take care how you built your app. So I wanted to ask on that front. Good, you brought that up. Bigger brands like you shouldn't they invest in technology in house where once you give the house for the resident, for example, later on the maintenance and everything builder is knowing about or the team is knowing about that these are the problems they are facing. What I've noticed a pattern is third party apps are coming in the picture, so the communication gets delayed because I am also a customer of a branded product. I have bought a house during the pandemic. Honestly, I noticed till the time I give my complaint or information to the third app, till the time it reaches to a team, it's already 3 days gone. So what is your take when it comes to in-house technology, when it comes to maintenance?
So let me kind of answer it in the wider perspective and then come down to maintenance, right?
Sure.
And I'll give you our example because this is what we do. So I can speak about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
So we do a lot. We use technology a lot, right? From doing drone shoots every couple of weeks for every project, to using Salesforce. Our Salesforce integrates with SAP. Today, when a customer comes to us and books, at our sales office, right, he can enter his name and details onto the screen. The details that he's entered go through Salesforce into the SAP and get printed out on the agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no other manual intervention.
Right.
The payment schedule which was given to him through on the cost sheet is the same thing that comes out in his agreement automatically, right? So we use robotic process automation for this.
It's all in-house.
It's all done internally. It's all tied in. We integrated. One of my pet peeves has been, if you order something of Zomato, Swiggy, any of these guys, right? You make your credit card payment, boom, you get an SMS saying, I don't know, 120 rupees is received by them. Okay.
Yeah.
You go to a builder to make a 5 lakh rupee payment. He says it'll take about 1 week or 10 days to get a receipt.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right? Absurd.
Yeah.
Absurd, right?
Yeah.
So what we did is we integrated our systems with the bank. Okay. So they came up with a virtual account. So every customer for his apartment has a unique virtual bank account. So a customer makes a payment into a unique virtual account that then drops into our main account. The bank system talks to my SAP system and says so much money came into this apartment number.
Right.
Right. Automatically it informs SAP. SAP informs Gera World, and we also send an SMS to the client. It's now
very
like
quick.
You were ordering something on Swiggy. I hate to say it. Oh my God. We have now had to catch up with such large payments and such an aspirational purchase. We've had to catch up with the home delivery guys for food.
Yeah.
Go to the next step in terms of technology, in terms of, like I said, warranty is administered over the app. We even do quality control using our apps. My vendors can upload their bills and see the progress of the bill through our system till when they're going to get the payment.
Okay.
Right. So we have deployed technology across the board. Right now and therefore we are looking at technology at the next level to be able to also integrate the society management maintenance, right? Because common area maintenance, as long as we're looking after it,
right,
it's looked after by us.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore, as far as we're concerned, we want to give our customers a continued experience.
Right.
Right. And therefore, that certainly makes the most sense because they're already used to one system.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right? So we are clearly in the path of developing that and integrating the system end to end. And here's one of the other important reasons why I think why we are doing it. Okay, I don't know what others are doing, and to each their own. Yeah. But my belief is when we do it, then the ability to provide upgrades around what my customers want is much greater.
Of course.
So, for example, in the app that we are looking at for our customers, we are saying when you have a gym and you said, you're in a branded project and, if you're going to the gym, right? And I don't know if you do, but this might resonate with you if you do, but you go at a certain time and you suddenly realize there's 6 or 8 or 4 or 2 treadmills, right? And they're all occupied. And you're like, oh God, now I got to wait. I got to come back and who's going to finish first? And, you're waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And we're saying, but that's silly. We should be integrating the treadmill along with our app to say that, okay, you can reserve a treadmill from a certain point in time to a certain point in time, and that treadmill is deactivated for anybody else.
That's
right? Right?
Yeah.
Now these kind of technological improvements are not being looked at by the guys who are providing purely society maintenance.
Yeah.
Right. So as a developer talking about the end consumer experience, right? Child-centric, for example, now none of the things out there are offering anything around child-centric.
Yeah.
So we are clearly committed to creating our own sort of ecosystem from beginning to end, And thereby for us to be able to, so when we know which are the facilities that are being used more, right, you can then plan for that much better in the next project.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. So you can say, okay, hang on, I had 1,000 apartments here and we gave 15 treadmills, but we didn't need to give 15. We could have managed with 13. Now,
Yeah.
why is that important? One is that we can put our money into something else or add to our profit, maybe so. But more importantly, then the customer doesn't have to pay an AMC on 15 treadmills and he has to pay an AMC only on 13.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can then provide a far better experience to the consumer. So I find that our deployment of technology is being done, customized for us, and we continue. We have a pretty large budget considering our size and considering that we're in the real estate space, including for internal team management.
Yeah.
Internal approvals. All of this stuff is all now managed through our own sort of proprietary systems.
But it gives a good experience for the customer also. No, once they buy the house and they're residing in it, like how you said, you guys are involved in every level, be from the treadmill example you said. But this give a good, as I said, from coming from a customer point of view, I'm also staying in a very branded developer. But when it comes to society management app, it's all third party. So
Yes.
when whatever complaints or whatever you are facing any problem, you're not able to get it done quickly. I know it takes time, an hour or a day, but then 3-4 days it takes because it gets processed, it gets reached out, and somehow the team of the developer team are
Absolutely.
not in touch to what I
Absolutely.
feel. So I
But-
completely agree with you when it comes to in-house technology, because I personally feel the builder whom we gave our money to, he or his team should know what the residence is facing or what the problems they are facing, so that they can make sure that those problems are not repeated, first
Yes.
of all.
Yes.
And it helps you also with those data, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's not so one is as far as the customer is concerned, post possession, even pre-possession, right?
Yeah.
You ask for a copy of your index 2, you ask for a copy of your agreement, you ask for some receipts, right?
Yeah.
It just takes 2 days, 3 days in today's world.
Yeah.
But the Gera World app today has all your documents available. You can download an email in an instant, every payment receipt, your flat purchase agreement, the brochure copy, the title documents, everything is available. You want to go to a bank, the entire set, you hit download and forward, right? You get access to the documents on the fly. It's just so much more convenient if you sit and build and create all of this. Now, where the challenge comes is a lot of the developers then use different types of ERPs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the problem becomes now, what is my customer facing solution? And then I need to integrate it with SAP or with a Microsoft solution, or, somebody has Oracle, somebody has a High-Rise, somebody, different developers have different solutions.
Right.
Right. So therefore, for us, we've just gone down the path of saying, listen, we're just going to do this for ourselves. We know what we want. We know what works for us. We know what our customers want.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want to pay for excessive features, and we certainly don't want to be minus some features which we think are important.
I agree. And personally, I've heard great, compliments on Gera. A lot of colleagues are staying in Pune, and they have told me how seamless the communication, the process, everything is seamless. So as you pointed out clearly, even in Bombay especially, and even when I bought the house, as you pointed out, that's why I was smiling, that if you're giving a certain token also, it takes a day or two for you to get the particular receipt. And that makes you think, okay, what age we are living in? Why is this not quickly done when they are trying to sell you a house? But when it comes to giving a receipt or anything, there's no quick response to it.
Yes.
So coming to next question, I want to know, is Gera going to enter in Bombay market soon?
No, is the short, quick answer.
And why?
I think we would look at, we are seriously now looking at, given the kind of success that we've seen for child-centric, we are certainly looking at taking child-centric to many other cities as well. But I think that Bombay will not be on our roadmap for a couple of years.
Okay.
I think I'm not saying it's no, never, right? I think it's just no, not yet,
Not yet.
not yet, not
You
yet.
must definitely think, because customer like me also, I have heard so much of Gera, how the communication, how the whole experience as a buyer is. So I'm sure everyone wants to go through it, because no one has that much of time. They want quick responses, quick, delivery to happen. And I think Gera is one of the best brand to associate with, for sure.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. And I'm so glad you heard, that, and I'm happy that our customers are talking about this outside. Because ultimately, eventually a brand gets built only when your customers speak about what you're doing, because I
agree.
can claim anything, right?
Yeah.
It means nothing if I'm claiming. Everybody claims, right? Ultimately, it only works when you're delivering,
Yeah.
but it truly gets to the world outside when your customers talk about you.
I completely agree, because I've seen that maximum people who have advertised more, they might be delivering less, but word of mouth is something which everyone would obviously appreciate, no matter how many hoardings you put. Word of mouth is something which makes other person also listen and buy the house from the same builder.
Absolutely.
So my last question, because we are talking about so much of technology, what are the technologies you are most betting upon? In what sector do you think there has been, good scope, and maybe COVID has helped them, consider the possibilities or the prospects of those areas where the technology is really going to come in and adoption will be quicker than ever?
Are you saying this at the across the industry, or just for real estate developers, or
Across any industry, or in particular real estate, if you want to quote? I want to understand which particular, because you're so hands-on technology, I really want to know which technology you are betting upon.
So I think as far as the homeowner is concerned, I think that we are seeing a great demand from consumers for home automation,
Yeah.
right? And we, the brand that we use, we have actually installed even in my house, right?
Mm.
So and it's fabulous. You can tell your phone to open the curtains when you wake up.
Yeah.
It's just so cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I get tickled by it every day, and I do it every day,
And it's
right? I get a smile
convenient.
to my face every day, and I do this every morning,
Yeah.
right? So I think certainly in the home automation space, there will be there's an increasing. I think that segment is going to see a
Mm.
lot of demand come up
Mhm.
uh, from developers to the manufacturer side. So I think that's certainly something which I see.
Mm.
Beyond that, I think and the individual developers, uh, where there are the more professional companies
Mhm.
will adopt technology faster, is my expectation, right?
Yeah.
The more professional you are,
Yeah.
but eventually what it comes down to is, I think, uh, depending on the passion of the people at the top,
Of
they
course.
will focus on that sector. So, for example, and again, we had a situation where we deployed our Gera World app for our customers many years ago, right?
Mm.
um, After we deployed that, another one of our competitors made a big announcement in the media and
Mm.
said, "Oh, we've launched this app for customers," and it was actually a sales app,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Ours wasn't an app to help sell. Ours was post sale, to
Yeah.
provide customers convenience and a better experience,
Right.
right? So somebody else may go ahead and deploy first the technology in their construction site, you know.
Mhm.
So I think it depends on each sort of individual's passion, what drives them, what their core area of focus is,
Mhm.
right? Um, and like I said, we even have an app which now looks at construction quality.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. When it comes
So
to construction, are you able to monitor from the start of, what vendor has come in, or what, cement has started being put in, or all those small nitty gritty, like how you're not able, like in global market, they have all the details once the construction starts. So that's where I was coming. Do you think we should also start focusing on that high time it is, because we should understand when your building is under construction?
so my system in my organization is, you know, um, engineers are expected to record any non-compliance to quality on the app.
Mm-hmm.
The contractors have a copy of the app, right?
Mhm.
And the engineer gets a firing if the quality auditor comes in and finds something wrong, which has not been entered in the app.
Nice.
If
Okay.
you entered it in the app, then we know that we can track it to closure,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But it's missing things which become a problem. Okay. So
Mm.
this is the current app that we've developed for ourselves. It's been in place for a while, and it works fabulously well.
Mm-hmm.
And now look at the next step of this, right?
Mm.
When we get warranty related issues and somebody takes a picture of their apartment and their bathroom or something like that, we can now go back and see the construction photographs to say what went wrong,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Yeah.
if I have two separate apps for this, how do you get them to speak to each other,
Agreed. Yeah.
right? So and on the construction side as well, I think that there's a tremendous opportunity.
Mm.
So we are kind of very immersed in tech, and I'll tell you, we have one. It's a really small little thing that we created.
Mm.
Okay. So anybody in Gera using Microsoft Excel
Mm.
automatically gets a Gera toolbar. Okay. So if you click that, standard templates, you want to convert from square feet to square meters, all of this is all click and it gets done. Click and it gets done. You don't have to sit and enter the formulas in this yourself,
No, that's cool. That's
right?
good. Yeah. It
So you
saves
want to
a lot
open
of
a
time.
template, you want to open a template of some sort, click
Yeah.
it, the template gets automatically populated, right?
Yeah.
Now that sort of thing, just to make, now doesn't affect the customers, right?
Mm.
It doesn't affect my product quality, but it helps improve my people's productivity,
Of course. Yeah.
right? It
Go.
standardizes templates across. Anybody wants to open a template for a budget, you click it, and the budgeting template is the same now for anybody creating a budget,
Agreed.
right? So technology then can get utilized across the board. There's opportunities to create and do all kinds of different things.
Definitely.
It's just what each individual where each individual wants to kind of take it, and
Yeah.
what he wants to do with it or she wants to do with it.
So would we be seeing next time in technology front when it comes to construction, even the customer who has bought the flat can get those daily updates like how we usually see in global market also. Once you buy a house, if you want to monitor how my flat is going on when it comes to construction, when it comes to the kind of quality and everything, those
Yeah.
details, will there be a transparency on that front to the customer?
No, I don't think that that's going to be possible, and I'll tell you why. Right? Look, this is a handmade sort of product, right?
Yeah,
And mistakes happen.
of course.
And when a mistake happens, okay, we go back, we may demolish something, right? We rework it. The
Mm.
customer gets it in a perfect condition,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, imagine if a customer is watching and it's so exciting to watch your home being built,
Yeah.
right? But then you see something wrong. Then you see some guy coming and breaking something.
Hmm.
And then in the customer's head, all kinds of things go wrong.
Hmm.
Here's the point, right?
Hmm.
If you're buying, let's say you want to buy a car, any car, and you say, I want to buy a customized, take a higher end car, right? I want to get a customized Mercedes.
Yeah.
They're not giving you a camera to look at what they're creating.
Yeah.
You're buying a brand. The brand stands for product quality, and the brand promise is that the quality you will not be let down on the quality, right? And therefore, rely on the brand, not that you have to look and check to see what's going on.
Yeah.
That transparency to my mind adds no value, right? The consumer needs to rely on who he bought from,
Hmm.
right? And say, listen, if you messed up, you need to fix it. The law says you have to fix it.
Yeah.
It comes down to that. So I think the nature of construction in India is not mechanized, is not automated,
Yeah.
right? And look at it this way. If every apartment has only one problem,
Hmm.
right? In every apartment, which is impossible in a situation, right?
Yeah.
Over the entire construction.
Yeah.
It means every customer is going to be irritated and upset because he had something wrong in his flat.
That's it.
So as far as we are concerned, I don't think that that's going to be something that will be a reality anytime soon.
Sure. So
I don't think it'll be a reality in my lifetime, at least.
but I will look forward because I keep reading about Gera coming up, certain new technology, and I think you're one of very few developers, as I said, doing in-house and creating different seamless communication, making sure everything from the customer point of view is delivered in a max to maximum quality.
Oh, you'll certainly, there's no doubt. The kind of things that we're working on now in our innovation lab,
Yeah,
I mean, really miles ahead, right? And to the extent, getting the technology to actually work around that is still a challenge,
of
right?
course. Yes,
So,
yeah,
and we need thousands and thousands of data points to be able to then do predictive stuff and so on. So we're doing some really cool stuff,
Hmm.
right? And as soon as we're ready, and we have a prototype and we're ready to kind of roll it out, I'll be happy to talk about it and maybe even bring it to the industry. Who knows?
Great. That'd be awesome, honestly, because I love to follow when it comes to technology, especially in real estate. And India, as you said, we are still a bit far, but I'm sure we are reaching there because of this pandemic. It has opened a lot of people's eyes and it has made people understand why is it important, not just because of pandemic, how much it brings a smooth process in everything, in terms of your team, in terms of your residents, everything.
Sure. Absolutely.
So thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Mr. Rohit, to coming here and having this insightful chat with me. And it was
Of course.
wonderful chatting with you and understanding everything, especially when it comes to technology. It's always fun to know more from you and learn more from you. And I hope you enjoyed the same.
Thank you so much. It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for having me.
Thank you.